Hello friends, my name is Heather and I like to talk about bookish things on the internet. It is currently the middle of June, which means two things. One, it's exceptionally hot, including right here where I'm filming, so please bear with me. And two, it's time for the mid-year freak out tag because June is halfway through the year. I'm gonna leave all of these questions down below, so if you want to answer them, you can leave them down in the comments. Question number one, best book you've read so far. I know you're supposed to have one answer for these questions, but for a lot of these, I do have multiple answers because it's just so hard to narrow things down. When I am thinking of best books of the year, I am thinking of what books have I read, put down, and still continue to think about. And for that, I have two answers. The first one is Abby Jimenez's Just for the Summer. This book was like therapy in a book for me. I have never seen a character more like myself who has gone through similar things to me represented in a book, and I am so thankful that this book exists and is out in the world. Y'all can see I have tabbed this book up. I have like highlighted and written in this book. Like, it is everything to me. This book is essentially a journal of my reading experience and I absolutely love it. The concept is very kind of like cheesy. We've got two people who have been through this thing where like everybody they date breaks up with them and then goes on to find their soulmate. So they agree to date each other so that their curse kind of cancels each other out. But in a rom-com fashion, they are going to fall for each other. But this book was so much more than just the love story. We have traumatic childhoods, we have got parental relationships, family relationships, analyzing like our inner workings and our inner feelings in this book, and I loved it so much. And then my other favorite of the year is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This is the indie published When the Moon Hatched. I read it on Kindle. I had to buy a physical copy, and I also have the Fairy Loot special edition coming in August or September because I loved the book that much. I already want to reread it. This book was a masterpiece in prose, in character, in setting, in world building, in magic. Dare I say it was life-changing for a fantasy book for me. I hadn't read anything to the level that this book hit, and I'm kind of sad that people don't love her first trilogy as much because now I don't really want to read it, but I just want more of this. So whenever the sequel comes out, I'm here for it. I will probably reread this or listen to the audiobook before the sequel comes out, whenever that may be, but I absolutely love this book. Without giving you like a synopsis, because it's kind of really hard. We've got Rave, who is an assassin who gets captured by the people she doesn't want to get captured by. And then we have Khan, who is a king, and he is looking for something that is very, very precious to him. And Rave and Khan's paths intermingle. Different kinds of dragons depending on the climate and the region that you're in. There is a lot of like backstory and lore that we get through this. It really felt like you were being immersed in a open world video game is the best way I know how to describe it. I can't wait to return to this world. I loved it so much. Number two is the best sequel you've read so far. So technically I could say Just for the Summer because it does exist in this romance trilogy and it's the third one, but it can be read as a standalone, so I don't really want to count it. So we're gonna say The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. I absolutely adore the Thursday Murder Club series. I'm pretty sure last year my favorite sequel was also a Thursday Murder Club book. We are following a group of septuagenarians that live in a retirement village in England, and they love to meet and try and solve cold cases until a murder happens too close to home for them and they decide to take it on themselves. Throughout the books, more hijinks and stakes are raised, and it's so much more than just the mysteries though, because you get to know like the relationships and the struggles of these individual characters in their like aging lives, but you're also learning about people around them like detectives and friends and police officers, and also sometimes like the bad guys, the antagonists in the story. You get a lot of their perspective as well. It's really a book about empathy and understanding amidst the murders and the big feelings and everything. This book, it was so good. It was so good. So new releases from the year that I have not read yet. The Riley Sager book, Middle of the Night, came out on Tuesday, and I have not gotten my copy yet. I'm trying to wait until I get paid so I can make a financially responsible decision when I'm making book purchases. So I'm gonna get this book next week. I will be reading it for a Patreon exclusive vlog, so just like a tiny little plug for Patreon, but I'm really excited about this book. I know several different book clubs around the internet are going to be reading it. I'm sure lots of in real life book clubs are going to be reading it, but you slap Riley Sager's name on a book cover and I'm going to read it. Also, a book that I wasn't really interested in when it first came out, but I just keep hearing hype from people I trust, is A Feather So Black by Lyra Serene. I have gone into Barnes & Noble multiple times looking for this book and they haven't had it, so I think I'm just gonna have to break down and order it. But I don't know anything about it except like fae kind of Celtic lore maybe, but Swan Lake, I don't know, I could be completely wrong on all of those fronts, but watching like aesthetic reels of this book, that's what it makes me think of. Most anticipated or released for the second half of the year, Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. Have I read an Ava Reid book yet? No, I haven't. I do have A Study in Drowning sitting on my nightstand right now. I am a theater girly. I am a Shakespeare girly, double toil and trouble. So I love Macbeth, but this I think is gonna be a very like feminist take on Lady Macbeth's story, kind of getting her power back and telling her own version of the events. I don't know if there's magic mixed into this or not, but I really want to see the character of Lady Macbeth expanded on, and I'm really excited to read this one. Plus, I love the cover. I love the like dark gothic feeling cover with the bright pink. It just makes me really happy, and like that's one that I think I'm going to pick up on release day and just dive straight into it. Biggest disappointment of the year. Whoo doggy. I have two here. The first one I read in January for one of my in-person book clubs, and that was A Winter in New York by Josie Silver. This book was garbage to me, and I don't really say that. I don't like to be mean, but I hated every page I read this book. This is one that I have been looking forward to for a long time. How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Wexler. Like, I was anticipating this so much. It was a Patreon pick for my book club that didn't get picked, but I was like, I'm still excited about it. I'm gonna go get it anyway. And so I did, and I started it, and I was a little bit hesitant at first because the narration is real quirky and wacky. It's told from first person from this girl who basically is reliving the same experience over and over again as she tries to defeat the Dark Lord. She keeps getting killed and like regenerated in the same situation. Kind of think like a video game and like you die on your quest, and so you just start back at the starting point. And she's kind of figured out like, I'm not gonna defeat the Dark Lord, so why don't I become the Dark Lord? That premise sounds really good. But y'all, first of all, the sexual humor in this book, I was trying to look past it, and for a while I did. I'm trying to think of how to word the sexual humor in this book. She really loves everybody and wants to do it with everybody. Like, she cannot meet another person or creature in this world without thinking of what their encounter, their romp, their tryst would be like. And sometimes it's not just imagining what their romp or tryst would be like. We see it. Again, I am not opposed to spice in books, but like this was gratuitous, as well as the descriptions of the actions and the genitalia. And I didn't need all of it. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, it's too much. But not only that, I was so bored with the plot. So in order to become the Dark Lord, she's got to like build up an army and build up a crew and like get the ragtag gang together. And I was so bored. I was so bored. I took this book to the pool, so it's super damaged, so I can't take it back. So instead of taking it back, I'm going to throw it on the floor. The next question is a favorite new author to you. I also have two for this one. The first one we're going to talk about is Miss Penn Cole herself. She has written the Kindred Curse saga, which is Spark, Glow, and Heat of the Everflame so far, and we have Burn of the Everflame coming out very soon. And another new favorite author for me is Catriona Ward. So Little Eve was the first book I have read by this author. She is a horror author, and this book was very gothic. She really amped up the atmosphere. I have heard mixed reviews about her other books. I know almost everybody that's read The Last House on Needless Street has loved it. People haven't loved Sundial, or what was the book that like was in the water and it kind of looked like you were going through a cave and the cave was shaped like a skull. Whatever that book was. Some people liked it, but I feel like most people didn't like that. But I just feel like I have to keep giving Catriona Ward a chance because this was amazing. We're gonna skip the next question. It is newest fictional crush. Guys, I just feel like I'm too old to answer this question. I just feel like I'm too old to answer this question. Like, I can appreciate a man in literature. I can appreciate the relationship that he has in literature, but as somebody that like values my own like relationships in my life, and like there's a difference between like admiring and appreciating a character in a book and like crushing on someone who's non-existent. Like it starts to feel weird. So we're not going to answer this question, but I will answer new favorite characters. And talking about appreciating a man in fiction, Miles from Funny Story is one of my favorite characters. Now, I didn't love Funny Story. It is my least favorite Emily Henry thus far. That being said, though, I really, really loved the character of Miles. I loved that surface level. He was silly, goofy, quirky, but really he was quite a serious character, and I identified with him so much on something, and that was that he loves sad things. Like, he could be happy listening to a sad song. He could be sad listening to a sad song. He could be angry listening to a sad song, but like his love for sad things was something I just clicked with him on, and I feel like we would be able to like cope through life's hard situations together. So Miles from Funny Story. Also Rave from When the Moon Hatched. I just feel like she was such a complex character. When you first meet her, she is so mean and stabby and bitter and just wants to like rip the world apart. But as this very chunky book progresses, you peel back those layers and you see like the hurt, scarred, genuine person that she is. If there's a slight angle shift, had to leave and come back. So there's that. But the next question is books that made you cry. I've already talked about both of these books, but when I say visceral sobbing happened, especially with the first one. This book tore me to shreds. I tabbed every place that I cried with a blue tab, and I don't know if you can tell, most of these are blue. Most of these are blue because this book, I don't know how to explain. It wasn't the love story that made me so like emotional. It was what the main character was going through familially. It just like broke me to shreds. So just for the summer, made me cry, if you couldn't tell how passionate I feel about this book. The Last Devil to Die also tore me up. When I bought this book in New Orleans, the bookseller told me to have a box of Kleenex by, and I understand why now. Next, we have a book that made you happy. Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. This book just like, I feel like I was smiling the whole time I read it. It is so silly, y'all. It is not a fantasy to like sit there and take seriously. This is just a silly, goofy time with our girl Evie becoming the assistant's villain, and the villain happens to be clad in leather pants and is much more good looking than she anticipated. And this is a very slow burn, cute but kind of spicy little sizzly time. There's no like on page spice, but like you can feel the spicing, if you know what I mean. Think Princess Bride, think Spamalot. Like, it's just very funny, and I am very much looking forward to the sequel of this one. It made me so happy. We also have The Prettiest book that you got this year. So this was not my favorite book by any means that I read this year. It wasn't my least favorite, but it wasn't my favorite. But I think that the cover is stunning, and then like the extra touch of the sprayed edges. So we have A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen. I just think that she looks gorgeous on the cover. I love the kind of browns and blues, but then you've got these like aqua sprayed edges, and this is just gorgeous to me. So this definitely is a contender for prettiest book of the year, although when I get my special edition of When the Moon Hatched, this one is going to be like, and then it's going to be When the Moon Hatched, because that, what I've seen at that one already is stunning. And the last question we have is just a roundup of books that I would like to get to before the year is over. Obviously there are so many more than what I'm going to show you, but these were the ones that like were calling to me immediately. So aside from the ones that I've already mentioned, like Lady Macbeth and Middle of the Night, I have a few others to talk about. First of all, I would like to read the rest of Abby Jimenez's backlist. So that starts with The Friend Zone and the Happy Ever After playlist, and what's the last one called? Life's Too Short, and they are all available on Kindle Unlimited now. This is one I'm picking up like next week, City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the start of the Daevabad trilogy, and I'm reading this with my patrons over in the Magical Menagerie Discord. Speaking of reading books with friends, I have an Instagram friend, she's probably watching this, and I think that we're gonna try and read Project Hail Mary. I am not the biggest sci-fi girl, but I am trying to be more of a sci-fi girl, and I hear that this one is just like chef's kiss excellent, and now that it's going to be made into a movie, I definitely have to read the book first. And some of my real life reader friends read Dawn of Onyx recently. We might have like a special project coming with the Dawn of Onyx series soon, so watch out for that. But I need to read the sequel, which is Promise of Peridot, because in October, the last book, A Reign of Rose, is coming out. I really enjoyed A Dawn of Onyx. It was not like the most deep fantasy book I've ever read, but that being said, it was just so good. I flew through it so quickly. I had a great time, and I can't see the second one disappointing me, so I'm excited to get to this one as well. And then last on the list, I just think when October rolls around and I'm wanting a dark, epic fantasy story, I'm gonna be picking up Empire of the Vampire. This is one I have had on my want to check out list for quite a while, and when I saw it on the 50% off Barnes & Noble table, I went ahead and snagged it. And my friends, that does wrap up this video, this mid-year freak out tag. Where is the year going? I don't know. If you enjoyed this video and want more bookish content from me, please make sure that you are subscribed, and you can always leave me a thumbs up. It definitely helps out my channel. And like I said earlier, leave me a comment down below if you want to fill out all the questions. Please do. I would love to see your answers, and we can chat about that. My social media is linked down below as well, and I will see you guys in another video very soon. Bye guys.